What is up, everybody? Tsetsuko here again with another Smite God preview video. Today we're going to take a look at a character from each of the different roles that you can play in Smite, as I've been doing in my previous videos. So, in this video we're going to start out with a Guardian. As promised, we're going to take a look at Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom. So basically in these videos we take a look at the skins that are available for each god, just to kind of give you an idea of how you can sort of customize the look of your character. And then we're going to hop into a practice match and take a look at the abilities that each god has and how they work together, how you can combo them, and maybe, talk a little bit of strategy about each one. We're not going to go super in-depth because this is sort of an overview video, but we will take a look, and this is, I believe, my third or fourth video. So let's get started taking a look at Athena. So this is her default skin. Cool shield, cool spear. She has the High Counselor skin that you can purchase with in-game currency. She also has the Red Star skin. And there was also a Winter Olympian skin that was available. Is no longer available though. But as you can see, it's just a color variation of the Red Star skin. And also she has her golden skin. Every god has a golden skin. These are available for purchase at God Mastery Rank 1. And just to recap, to get Mastery Rank 1, you have to play matches with that god, and when you are victorious, you earn worshippers for each match, and when you reach a certain amount of worshippers, then you increase the Mastery rank that you have with that god. So, for example, for Athena here, I have 41 worshippers, and at 50 worshippers, I will unlock God Mastery Rank 1 with Athena, and that will allow me to purchase the golden skin, which I can purchase with in-game currency or using gems. And it's just a gold skin with blue accents. Also, every god has a legendary skin as well, which is gold with black accents. And for this particular skin, you need to reach Mastery Rank 10 with that god. So if you see someone who has this skin, it means they've either played this god a whole bunch, so that even if they aren't very good with it, they've just played so many times that they've acquired enough victories by chance to have Mastery Rank 10, or they're really good with this god and they have won a lot of matches to get to Mastery Rank 10. So, we're going to go in here, we're going to jump into the practice jungle and take a look at her abilities.
Athena.
So Athena is a guardian character. She's high survivability, low damage. You guys just bear with me. When I come in here, I have to level up and get the skills and items and stuff. It takes a minute or two, and then we'll be ready to check out all the different abilities. So as you can see, she has a progressive basic attack. It has 3 parts. The first 2 strikes, which you can see, 1, 2, both do normal damage. And then she has the third swing, which is an AoE, and deals 200% damage. So double damage on the third swing. But also, the swing time for the third swing is also doubled. So The AoE effect is pretty nice, though. It helps you to clear out minion waves a little bit if you need to. So her passive ability is called Reach. After using any ability, her next basic attack is a ranged attack. It hits all enemies it passes through and deals an additional 25% of her magical power as damage. So I'll show you here, using, and you can see now that she throws her spear. Now what I'll do is I'll come over here to the minion wave and we'll take a look at that when some more minions spawn. Alright, here we go. So I'm just going to use an ability real quick, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and you can see that now my attack will be ranged, and it hit these guys all the way back here. Now normally she just has a melee attack. So the cool thing about that ability is because you are a melee character, it gives you a little bit of poke, or it also lets you to, you know, generally if you're Athena and you're getting on top of somebody, they are trying to get away from you. So it gives you the chance to hit them with some ranged attacks while you're trying to catch up to them. So taking a look at her abilities, her number 1 ability is called Preemptive Strike. It's a line ability. She powers up for a dash, and while dashing, she passes through minions and stops at the first enemy god that she encounters. She deals damage and slows everything that she hits. If she hits an enemy, she gains 1 stack of block, maximum of 3, which will absorb the next basic attack from any god that hits her. So, you can see right here is her, this keeps track of the blocks that she has. So, every time you hit an enemy, you will gain a block. So, let's go take a look at that real quick. So, the cool thing about this ability is you can actually charge it and then just sit here with it. It doesn't reduce your speed to have it charged up or anything, so you can, you know, just kind of hang out with it. And with most of the skills in Smite, you can right click to cancel them, and there's no penalty for that. So charge it up, and I'll go in. Boom, you can see I hit an enemy, so I've got 1 block down here. Now that blocks a basic attack from a god. It doesn't block a basic attack from a monster. So be sure to keep that in mind. Her number 2 ability is called Confound. She releases a shockwave of power from her shield, taunting enemy gods and forcing them to fight close to her. So this is pretty much just a standard taunt, but there aren't a whole lot of taunts in Smite, and this is an incredibly powerful ability. So you can see it's got a pretty large cone, and this will make the gods fight you, even if they are trying to run away. For a few seconds there, you can see that the taunt duration at max rank is 2 seconds. So for 2 seconds, you will taunt the enemy gods.
Disconnected.
Sorry about that. Forgot I had my TeamSpeak open. And you can also see now I have 2 stacks of block because I've hit people with that charge. And I will show you here, if we go and attack Ra, you will see that as he hits me with basic attacks, these shields will come off. And for the first 2 basic attacks, I won't have any damage. And actually I can get a 3rd one, so he hits me, absorb. So you can see that it's a pretty nice ability to have, because if you have something like an assassin who's trying to attack you, who does a lot of damage with his auto attacks, or maybe even a hunter, you know, you're absorbing a huge portion of their damage with those first couple of attacks. So Athena's number 3 ability is called Shield Wall. She summons a group of Athenian warriors who do damage upon arrival, and after 2 seconds, they strike for additional damage. So this is in a circle around you, and you can see I'll come up here, and when you drop it, it does initial damage, and then they do damage afterwards. Now, they don't chase or follow anyone. They're literally just a circle of warriors, so someone can just run out of them. So generally, it's a good idea to... you can either drop this ability on the enemy and then taunt them back into it, so they take damage from that second attack, or you could actually start with the taunt and then drop the Athenian warriors, the shield wall, on top of them. And then her ultimate ability is called Defender of Olympus. She picks a single allied god anywhere in the world and launches herself up into the air, landing next to that god 4.2 seconds later. During that 4.2 seconds, the allied god mitigates 20% of the damage it's taking. Enemies nearby, when Athena lands, take damage. Now, I can't actually show you this ability because there's no allied god in here with me, but basically, when you hit the ultimate ability, you kind of zoom in a little bit, and you can move your cursor around, move the mouse around, and you can literally, any friendly god that's on your team, it doesn't matter where they are at in the map, they could be in the enemy's base, you can activate your ultimate ability and teleport to them. So you have a huge advantage in terms of being able to quickly traverse the map to get to where you need to be, as long as you have a friendly god in that area. And this will also help you because they mitigate 20% of the damage that they're taking. They will also, it kind of gives you a chance to maybe try to get in and save that person. So Athena is one of my absolute favorite guardians. I believe I have a 100% win rate with her right now as of this video. And, you know, she's really fun to play pretty aggressively because you have the charge, which, you know, you can get into there. You do damage, so you can pass through minions and do damage. And then when you hit an enemy god, you'll slow that god. You'll be able to throw out your ranged attack. Normally you can get a taunt off on them, pull them back, use shield wall. And you don't put out a whole lot of damage, but between the slow and the taunt, if you are duo laning with a hunter or something like that, then they have a huge amount of time in which they can put damage onto the opponent without having to worry about the repercussions of damage from that enemy. So she's a very good god to use in conjunction with some other high damage gods. So there you have it. That's Athena. We're going to hop back out. And now we're going to take a look at an assassin. And this time we are going to take a look at Bastet, the Egyptian goddess of cats. So Bastet, this is her default skin. She also has the Dominatrix skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency, as well as her golden skin and her legendary skin. Alright, so let's go hop into the jungle and we will take a look at her abilities. So Bastet is an assassin. She's high damage, low survivability, and the majority of her damage is going to come from her auto attacks as opposed to coming from her abilities. Also, most assassins have high mobility so that they are able to escape from situations or they can chase opponents because most assassins are melee ranged characters. Her basic attack doesn't have a progression. It does kind of change. You can see sometimes she kicks, sometimes she does a flip, sometimes she just swings the whip, but it doesn't actually have a progression. So all of her attacks are the same speed and the same damage. Her passive is called Open Wound. When she hits an enemy with Pounce, Razor Claws, or Ninetales, which is her 1, 2, and 3 abilities, she will wound the target for a brief time. If the target has a wound, those abilities will deal additional damage and remove the wound instead. So when you hit an enemy with your ability, it will wound them. Then if you hit them with another ability, it consumes the wound to deal additional damage. And it deals 20% additional damage and lasts for 3 seconds. So if you can combo together your abilities quickly, you can deal a lot of extra damage. So Bastet's one ability is called Pounce. She pounces to her target location, damaging enemies within the radius. For 4 seconds after pouncing, you can press the button again to pounce back to your initial location, even while under crowd control. She also moves 25% faster while in the return pounce state. So that's multi-layered. So first off, you can pounce to deal damage, and now you have a speed buff while you're in this return state. So you don't actually have to return. You can just utilize that speed buff if you want to, pounce on someone and chase them down. Or you can pounce and then push the button again to pounce back to where you were if you just kind of wanted to get in and do some damage. So once again, you can jump in, you can use the buff, and then you can also activate the ability to jump back to where you were. Her number 2 ability is called Razor Claws. She swipes at her enemies, causing them to bleed for damage every second for the duration. So, for 4 seconds, your enemies are going to bleed. This is just a pretty basic cone attack. Once again, this kind of sticks with her sort of hit and run theme. You can use this ability, bam, and then you can get out of there, and they'll still take damage. They'll take that bleed damage, even though you're not actually attacking them. That's a pretty straightforward ability. Her number 3 is called Ninetales. She lashes her weapon, unleashing a projectile that detonates on her target, dealing damage and slowing enemies in the area. So this is a line ability. It's got a pretty big range, and you just send this out. It's going to latch on, and then it's going to it will explode to deal damage to enemies around the target. So I've just got to, there we go, we'll use it on this guy. Boom. Well, the AoE effect is not as large as I thought it was, apparently. But it does do a small AoE that does the damage and the slow to enemies in the area, but it 100% does it to your target. Her final ability is called Cat Call. She summons 3 cats that attack nearby targets, slowing and damaging them. Sensing the smell of bloods, cats will attack bleeding enemies first. So that is where your number 2 ability comes into play, Razor Claws, because your Razor Claws is what causes an opponent to bleed. So, first off, I'm going to go over to Ra, and I'm going to show you just how her ultimate works when used on an opponent. It's got a pretty short cooldown, so we'll summon her cats, and they will attack Ra. And then now I'm going to show you the difference, how you can prioritize who gets attacked by using your Razor Claw's ability. I've got to wait for the cooldown, so until then I'm gonna go over to the Gold Fury. She's a little bit of a tougher opponent, and use some abilities on her. Actually, I will show you, what I meant by assassins do the majority of their damage through their basic attacks. So I'll just come up to Ra here, and now I'll show you how quickly I can kill him just with basic attacks. See, that was even faster than using my ultimate ability with the cats. Using Cat Call, I killed him much faster just by auto-attacking him. Alright, so we're going to go over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Razor Claws to put the bleed onto these two. Actually, I'll put it on this one. Hopefully she won't die right off the bat. And then I'll summon the cats, and you'll see how the cats will prioritize attacking her first. Okay, she's probably going to die, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to put the Razor Claws onto the larger harpy. Actually, I'm going to run away so they reset. Okay, so now I'm going to come back. I'm going to put Razor Claws on the large harpy. Just the large harpy. And you'll see that they go for the large harpy first. So Bastet is very much a sort of hit-and-run assassin. Like I said, you've got the leap that you can use, the bleed, which you don't have to be there for the damage. You've got a very long-range ability that you can use. And with your ultimate ability being the cats that you summon that kind of go out and attack and do their own thing, she's a very unique assassin in the respect that, she can do a lot of damage without really putting herself into too much danger. And really, her most vulnerable position is when she's trying to utilize her auto attacks to do a significant amount of damage. Because as I showed you before, her auto attacks, just by auto attacking, you actually kill things a lot faster than you do using your abilities. So next up, we're going to take a look at a warrior, and today we're going to take a look at Vamana, the Hindu 5th avatar of Vishnu. So this is his default skin. He is everybody calls him the fat baby. He has a Divine Protector skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency. He also has the Lomana skin, which is absolutely ridiculous and awesome. And then he has his golden skin, and of course his legendary skin. Alright, so let's hop into the jungle and take a look at his abilities.
Vamana.
So Vamana is a warrior. He's a mix between kind of like an assassin and a guardian. He's medium damage, medium survivability. All warriors, you can sort of build them out however you want, depending on the gear that you pick, to make them more damage heavy or to make them more defense oriented. But in general, with their recommended builds and things like that, they're going to be somewhere in between a guardian and an assassin. Warriors are melee characters, so all their abilities are going to be, focused at, or not their abilities, but their attacks are going to be focused at close range. And, oops, forgot to buy items. All their abilities are going to be close range, and they do a fairly good amount of damage with their basic attacks. Alright, so his basic attack has no progression. It does have a little bit of a animation change, but same speed, same damage for all of his attacks. His passive is called Sleeping Giant. When he's not in colossal form, which is his ultimate, taking damage from gods causes the cooldown to decrease. When he is in colossal form, taking damage from gods increases the duration. Additionally, a percentage of his physical protection is converted to physical power. So, when he's not in colossal form, he takes 1 second off of his cooldown for Colossal Fury per hit, and when he is in colossal form, he gets 0.5 seconds per hit, up to maximum of 10 seconds that he can additionally stay in his ultimate form longer than he normally would be able to. So his number 1 ability is called Clear the Path. He opens his umbrella in front of him and sprints forward, doing damage to all enemies and knocking them into the air. So this is kind of a little bit like Geb's ability, his roll ability that I showed a video or two back. Except Geb's does a knock back to enemies, and Vamana actually knocks all enemies up into the air. But you can see that he moves pretty quickly from the get-go. Unlike Geb, there's no charge up. He doesn't go as far, but it's kind of hard to steer, but it's not nearly as bad as trying to steer or turn Geb. You can still turn pretty rapidly with this ability. As you can see, that's about the tightest turn that I can make while using that ability. So it's an ability that you kind of want to definitely put yourself in the position to utilize it the best way that you possibly can. A lot of times what I'll do is, if we're out here fighting someone, I'll kind of come to the back a little bit, and then I'll start it so I can swing around and make sure that I'm aiming where I need to be. I mean, you could always just start right from the get-go, but a lot of times if you are up in everybody's face, they're going to be paying attention to you, and they will see you coming, and they'll just move out of your way. His number 2 ability is called Armored Umbrella. He infuses his umbrella with his armor, reinforcing it while he strikes forth, doing damage to all enemies in a cone. So this is just a very wide conal damaging ability. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to go use this ability on this group here so you guys can see it. Which I believe my game lagged out a little bit. I don't know if it lagged out on Twitch, but I will use that ability again just in case. Alright, here we go. There you go. So that's that ability. And then I'm going to go over to the minion waves, and I'm going to use his Clear the Path ability to show you the knock-up effect on that. So here we go. So you can see he cleared out that minion wave pretty easily, and you saw the knock-up from that as well. His number 3 ability is called Umbrella Ring. He spins an umbrella out in front of him, hitting everyone in his path for damage and slowing your enemy's attack and movement speeds. After reaching its destination, the umbrella will return to him, hitting everyone in his path again. So this ability is basically a boomerang style ability. You've got a large line attack here, and when you throw out the umbrella, it spins back to you. Now the umbrella will actually follow you, so I'll show you as soon as the cooldown is up, but if you throw the umbrella out and then you move, it will come back to where you're at. So you can change the trajectory of the umbrella by changing your position. So, if you throw your umbrella out and your enemy starts to move this way, you can actually move with your enemy and try to hit him as well. Something to note is that you can throw this out and pop your number 1, and it'll still follow you to wherever you go. So if you need to like quickly change the trajectory and you have the cooldown up for number 1, you can use that combination to accomplish that. Now, Vamana's ultimate is Colossal Fury, which we talked about a little bit before. He grows into an enormous giant, and while he's enraged, he's immune to crowd control, gains protections, gains physical power, and gains massive regeneration. And his basic attacks now damage all nearby enemies, and you can right-click to cancel that form early. So, basically, what's going to happen here is I turn into a giant, and now when I use my basic attack, it's a big AoE. And it didn't last that long because I didn't have any enemy gods attacking me. But, as we saw here with this passive, you can get up to a 10-second increase in the duration of your ultimate ability if you're taking damage from enemy gods. So, a lot of times what you'll do as Vamana is you'll pop your ultimate when you're near a bunch of enemies, because then you can wade in and you can just use that AoE basic attack to stomp on everybody and do a bunch of damage. And if they try to attack you, they're just going to increase the duration that you are able to stomp on them. So Vamana's an interesting god. He's a little bit weird, takes some getting used to, and to use him effectively, you really have to kind of play him a few times. One thing I have noticed about him, though, is he does seem to have a fairly fast attack speed, and he can, depending on the way that you build out his gear, you can really put out almost, assassin-level damage just because of how fast that he attacks. And I'm sure that if you went for a full damage build, you could actually rival some assassins as well, at the expense of becoming incredibly squishy and maybe not having the tools that assassins have to get themselves to safety. Alright, next up we're going to take a look at a mage, and this time we're going to take a look at, I believe it's Chung-ah, I forget. We'll figure it out when we hit the selection button. It's not Chung-E, that's for sure. So this is her default skin. See, she has a little bunny. She also has the Bright Moon skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency. And this skin, Moonlight Love, was a promotional Valentine's Day skin. I don't know if they're going to be selling it again, but you can see she's got Valentine's Day colors on her dress and a little chocolate bunny. It's pretty neat. And of course she has her golden skin. And she also has her legendary skin. Alright, so let's hop into the jungle and check her out.
Chung-ah.
Chung-ah, that's what it was.
You can dance if you want to.
Alright, so Chung-ah is a mage, so she is a high damage, low survivability character. The majority of her damage is going to come from her abilities rather than her basic attacks. So her basic attack has no progression, it's just a standard sort of ranged attack. It's got a cool kind of, looks like she's throwing out magical blades. Her passive is Jade Rabbit. Chang'e can purchase or sell items from anywhere, and her Jade Rabbit companion will fetch them. When the rabbit reaches the store and then returns, the transaction is complete. Only one item can be purchased or sold this way at a time. She also gains 25% movement speed with no backpedal penalty when using her dances. So, a couple of things about Smite. If you're moving forward, you move at normal speed. If you move backwards, you move at a reduced speed. And if you are attacking, no matter what direction you're going, you move at reduced speed. So when she is doing her dances, she can backpedal without a reduction in speed. Now, to show you the rabbit, her passive ability, Jade Rabbit, so I'm over here. Normally I can only purchase items in the center of that circle, but with her ability, I can open up the shop menu and I can, let's say I want to purchase a health potion. I can purchase the potion, and now the rabbit is going to go and fetch it for me. And you'll see, if you pay attention right down here, is where my consumable items go. When he comes back, there we go, I have a potion.
Delivery.
Now, as I said, you can only do one item at a time, but I can even, if I want this activated ability here, I can send him to go purchase that for me. And there he goes. And you can see here, this is the icon that he's gone, and that's what he's purchasing. And he'll come back, and there it is, my new ability. So it's actually a really good ability to have, especially in a longer style game like a Conquest match, a 5v5 match, because you can stay in your lane and still buy items, which is pretty powerful depending on the position that you're in and how your health and your mana is holding up. Sometimes you have a lot of health and mana left over, but you need to go buy stuff. And with this case, you can use your rabbit to kind of purchase things for you as you go, and you can stay in lane where your opponent has to go back to base and purchase items. So her number one ability is called Crescent Moon Dance. She flings a crescent moon in an arc, and it deals damage to all enemies in its path. Now this ability has a pretty huge cone of attack, and we're going to use it here. You can see she just kind of did a little crescent swing. It's got a really short cooldown, 3 seconds, so it's very spammable. And that doesn't count as a dance. It's pretty much an instantly activated ability, so that doesn't trigger her passive ability where she gets the increased movement speed. Her number 2 ability is called Moonlit Waltz. She performs an evasive spin dance, unable to be hit during the action. For each tick of damage from an ability that was avoided, she restores mana to herself and her allies. So, for this, I will show you. We'll go over to the Gold Fury here. So I'm going to attack her, and I'll use my 2 ability. And you can see that it said immune. For the couple seconds that I used that ability, I was immune. So I'll use it again. I'm immune again. And there you go. It's going to be difficult to beat her without showing the other abilities, so let's go ahead and take a look at the number 3 ability, Moonflower Dance. She twirls, scattering flowers around her, healing herself and all nearby allies and damaging nearby enemies. It also reduces the healing of all nearby enemies. Now these are her 2 dances. She has the number 2 skill that I just showed you, Moonlit Waltz. So during this, you have the increased movement speed, and also during this ability. Now look how large the circle around you is for this 3rd skill, the Moonflower Dance. So within this area, any enemies are hit and their healing is reduced, and you also heal yourself and all allies within this radius. So you can see it's a fairly good heal, and with a radius that big, it's a very good skill to use. So you can get up here and attack her, and you'll see I'm not doing a whole lot of damage to her, but I can easily heal back up the damage that she's doing to me. her ultimate ability is called Waxing Moon. Her Waxing Moon dance is captivating. It deals damage and stuns enemies in front of her. Each subsequent god that is stunned for longer than the previous one. So, the initial stun is 1 second, and then it adds 1 second for each god already stunned. So, if you manage to stun all 5 opposing gods in a 5v5, then the last god to be hit will actually be stunned for 5 seconds, which is a huge amount of time in this game. And this ability has for a stun, an AoE stun, it has an enormous line area of effect. Now, you can play her as a very aggressive, powerful mage, utilizing her basic attacks, especially the Crescent Moon Dance 1 ability, and then use your Moonlight Waltz and your Moonflower Dance to kind of supplement your attack abilities, or you can use her as a utility mage, which is the way that I play her, and I actually like her a lot, and I play her primarily as a utility mage or a support mage, where I will, build her supporty, lots of aura items and things. I'll max out her Moonflower Dance so I can do a lot of healing. I will max out Crescent Moon Dance because it does hit pretty hard and has a pretty long range. And for Moonlit Waltz, when you increase the level, it only increases the amount of mana that gets restored to you. So you can just keep this at rank 1 for as long as possible and still get the benefit of being able to evade an attack. And then all that in combination with the ability to AoE stun abilities just makes her a very, very awesome support utility mage for your team. You can go in, if it's in the middle of a team fight, you have the option to throw out some damage with your number 1. If there's a big AoE, like let's say that Ares was going to do his chain ability, or Hades was going to do his AoE taunt, you can use your 2 ability to spin out of it and then come back in and throw in some heals with your 3 ability to keep your allies from dying. Or even better yet, if you come up on the enemy team and it's a pretty even fight, if you throw in that AoE stun, man, your team just has a huge amount of time to take down the enemy team without having to worry about those repercussions of damage from them. So she's a very, very awesome mage, one of my absolute favorites, probably in my top 3 for now. But like I said, great utility mage. You can build her out as a damage mage as well if you wish. And then finally, we're going to take a look at another hunter. This time we're going to take a look at Xbalanque. I believe that's how you say his name. The Mayan Hidden Jaguar Sun. This is his default skin. And he also has the Jungle Beast skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency, as well as his golden skin, and his legendary skin. So, let's hop into the jungle. Seems like the best place for this jungle god.
Xbalanque.
Okay, so his name is Xbalanque. We'll call him X-Ball for now. That's what everybody refers to him as. Xbalanque. Interesting. So X-Ball here is a hunter, or Xbalanque. Don't hate me for calling him X-Ball. He's a hunter, so he's high damage, low survivability. His damage is primarily ranged, and for the most part is going to be based on his basic attacks. He's kind of like a ranged assassin. Like I was saying before, usually hunters don't have the escape or chase mechanisms that assassins do have, but they have the same sort of general idea. Now this bubble is actually due to an item that I purchased, not any ability of his. So actually I think I might get rid of that. There we go, that's better. Alright, so here's your look at his auto attacks. You can see that there's no progression. He just throws out a magical bola, which is pretty cool. His passive ability is called Dead of Night. Any enemy gods that he kills increases his physical power permanently. So for each god that he kills, his physical power is increased by 5, maximum of 3 stacks. So just by killing enemy gods, he can get 30 additional physical power. His number 1 ability is called Branching Bola. When he toggles this ability on, his basic attacks deal additional damage. When the bola hits, it splits into 2 that hit enemies up to 30 units behind the target for 30% damage. Right-clicking cancels the toggle. So the thing about this is that it uses your mana per shot. So normally your basic attack, no big deal. If you toggle on your 1 ability, you can see his stance changes. And now it'll start costing me mana, which you can see it eating away at my mana there. But you get the additional benefit of it doing the extra damage and splitting into 3. So normally, if I went to attack these guys, I'm going to hit them 1 at a time. I'll go over to the next camp, and I will activate his number 1 ability. And now, when I throw this out, well, it's kind of hard to see. Let me go to the minion wave. That'll probably be a better place to show you. So you'll be able to see here when I attack someone, it will hit targets behind them at the cost of mana, and you get that additional damage. His number 2 ability is called Poison Darts. He shoots 10 darts in a cone in front of him, dealing damage with each one. An enemy can be hit by 3 darts, with the other 2 doing 30% damage, so a total of 160% damage if they get hit by 3 darts. Enemies hit are poisoned and take an additional damage every 0.5 seconds and are slowed. Now the poison lasts for 3 seconds, so you're going to get 6 ticks of poison damage and slow by hitting them with the darts. And you can see here that it is a very wide cone ability. So we'll go over here and we'll use it on this group over here. And you'll see that they take initial damage, and now they're poisoned. So pretty straightforward. His 3rd ability is called Rising Jaguar. He rushes forward and jumps into the air. While in the air, he fires darts at all nearby enemies, dealing damage to all in the area. Any enemies that were poisoned by him take additional damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the speed camp here, and we're just going to show off the number 3 skill without the poison damage. And you can see we did about 320 or so to the guy in the middle. So we are going to go over to this camp. We're going to throw out the poison, and then we're going to use the number 3 ability, the Rising Jaguar, and take a look at the damage difference. So here we go. You can see he's at a significantly lower amount of health from that. So the additional poison damage, they take 20% more damage if they're poisoned. So it's good to use that in combination. Poison darts, rise into Rising Jaguar to deal that additional damage. Now his ultimate ability is called Darkest of Nights. He shrouds enemies in darkness for 3 seconds. During this time, his basic attack range and movement speed are increased. At the end of the darkness, any enemy gods that are moving are stunned. So, at maximum rank, he gets 60% movement speed during this Darkest of Nights, and his basic attack range is increased by 40 feet. So you can see the blue line in front of me is my current basic attack range. So pay attention to that line when I activate the ultimate ability, and you will see that it is going to increase. So let's go ahead and use it. you can see that my attack range increased. And I had the buffs for the movement speed and stuff like that. His ultimate ability is actually much more dramatic if you are the enemy, because your screen turns black, like there's a black fog all over your screen, and you see this giant Mayan symbol in the center of your screen with these blocks that close in on it. And when the last block completes the outer ring of the circle, if you're moving at that point, you get stunned. And so it's very chaotic, and you kind of have a choice. You know, generally when that happens, he's trying to chase you down, so you want to run. And if you can either stop right before the circle completes, that outer circle completes, so that you don't get stunned, or you can keep running and get stunned. Generally, it's better to stop, because you'll stop for maybe half a second and then you can keep going. But if you are running, you get stunned for 1.5 seconds. So generally, it's best, even if you're running away from him because he's going to kill you, to just stop real quick and then keep going as soon as his ultimate is finished. So all in all, he's actually a very aggressive hunter. You have your bolas, which you can obviously use as a ranged attack, but then you have your poison darts, which you generally want to combo into your Rising Jaguar, and to use that you need to be up on the enemy. It's not an ability that you sit back and use. And then in addition to that, with his ultimate, the increased movement speed, the increased attack range, that's pretty much, it's all about chasing people down. So he's a very aggressive hunter. So if that is your playstyle, if you like a ranged character but you like to play aggressive, he's definitely a good god to check out. So that was it for this episode. Just to recap, we checked out Athena, one of my absolute favorite guardians. And just to check, yep, 100% win rate so far. Only 4 games, I guess, but still, that's good. For Assassins, we took a look at Bastet, the Goddess of Cats. Very hit-and-run style gameplay. Warriors, we took a look at Vamana, or Fat Baby, as we like to call him. If that is in any way offensive to you, I apologize. For Mage, we took a look at Chonga, who has the cute little bunny. And then finally, finished it off with Zablanke. I think I said that right. I already forgot. X-Ball, the Hidden Jaguar son, and his fairly aggressive hunter style gameplay. Thanks for tuning in. Catch us next time. It's just me. Catch me next time on the next video. We are down, let's see, this was the 4th video, I believe, so we actually only have 3 Guardians left, so couple more episodes here and we will actually be doubling up for some of these mages. As you can see, there are a lot of mages and a fairly good amount of assassins, and not too much on anything else. Definitely not too many guardians. So we got 3 more guardians left. We've got Ares, we got Sobek, and we've got Ymir. And next time we're going to be taking a look at big ol' Ymir. So join me then. I will catch you later. Thanks for tuning in.